Tonight, Ebonics, teaching Black English as a separate language.
This is ABC News Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Washington, Chris Wallace.
While there's plenty of disagreement over almost every aspect of Black English, or Ebonics, there's no debate about the problem.
Ebonics, or Black English, is first tonight. Last month, a nationwide debate was ignited when the Oakland, California School Board recognized Ebonics as a language.
January 5th, 1997. Tonight. Is English a second language to some blacks in America?
I had this party at the Heezy. It was off the hook.
What the heck does that mean?
I had a party at my house, and it was fun.
Should their teachers learn Black English, Ebonics, to better understand them? At first, Jesse Jackson said no, but now he's changed his mind.
It's not just about a method of learning, it's about a whole process.
But what does bad mean to a fourth grader?
Can I
you
ask,
have demeaned the child. Haven't we done that enough with our children?
Can I ask you this question?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that an African-American person can hope to make a success in most fields in this country if this person says, he be going to work, and uses the question, I ask you, he be going to work?
Most African Americans that are, in fact, making it in our society have one language style for the dominant society, because we're not stupid. I mean, I think that's what we need to get away from. African Americans are not stupid. If a Spanish person comes to you speaking in the remnants of their language, do you classify them as stupid, or do you say they have a foreign language?
Okay.
Our children deserve the same right and respect as any other child. We know they come to school not speaking standard English. Ours is to bridge the gap so that we do not insult the attitude, to lift the altitude. That's not very difficult to understand.
We'll come back to you in just a second. Let me ask you, Professor Von Cook, thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like to know a little bit about this Ebonics. Now, let's just take a simple phrase, I'm here. In French, je suis ici. Would you please give me that sentence in Ebonics? I'm here.
Well, let me just say, first of all, that there are different areas in Ebonics, in the language, that differ from standard English. And you cannot translate every single sentence differently, because every single sentence is not different.
But can you say in Black English, I'm here? I'd just like to know what is Black English. I'm here, simple sentence.
Well, let me say what you could say. If you say she's here, you can say she here.
Here.
That's right, she here, with the absence of that verb that we call the copula. It generally does not happen with I.
Got it.
That's evidence of the systematic
bad example
nature.
I gave you. She here.
Right, she here.
Now, Ms. Von Cook, that's just bad English, isn't it? How could you say that's a language?
No, that's different English.
No,
that's
it's
not
bad English.
That's not, but that's your opinion that it's bad.
No, it's not my opinion that it's bad.
That is your opinion, because
the statistics that this task force uncovered during its research speak for themselves. And I think they bear mentioning again in terms of the fact that in Oakland, the average grade point average of African American students is 1.8. That is not acceptable. 71% of the students enrolled in special education are African American students. Of students who repeat the same grade, 64% are African Americans. Of the African American students who enter the 12th grade, 19% do not graduate. 29% of African American males who are enrolled do not attend on a regular basis. Many others are trying to make this issue their own. Our primary concern is the education of our children. We will march on to implement a plan that will change the academic future for all of our children in Oakland. We hope that the debate, the discussions from this point on will center around how each and every person that's concerned with children can lend a hand to help us change these statistics, to support us in the process of ensuring that all children in our school system have the same and equal opportunity to success. Thank you.
I stand before you today as a mother with children in Oakland schools, as a member of this committee, and as a member of this task force. This has been a 7-month process. We presented our findings and recommendations in December. We believed they would stand on their own merit and be fully embraced. We had no idea that we would become the catalyst for raising the national debate about the education of African American children. Although this has been a difficult process, it was well worth the effort. And it is time to move from the rhetoric to academic success. Our task force is united. We fully support the document we have delivered today to the board. We are finished talking about the wording of the resolution. Our main goal at this point is to begin refining the process as we move towards its implementation. We hope to have the entire process in place by this fall. With every moment that passes, we lose another child. It's time to get to work.
Joining us now from San Francisco are Tony Cook, a member of the Oakland, California School Board. Ms. Cook headed up the task force that proposed using Ebonics. And Dr. Dan Kelly, a member of the San Francisco School Board. And joining us here in Washington, Kwaizi Mfume, president of the NAACP. Ms. Cook, school boards in Oakland and Los Angeles are already using Black English as a teaching tool. Why go beyond that, as your school board did, and call for teaching African American students, quote, in their primary language? Isn't that inflammatory?
Well, I think it's important at this time, and thank you for the opportunity. It's important for you and the public to know what we're advocating is the usage of a teaching strategy. Our children already come to us speaking whatever you want to call it. Some call it Ebonics, some call it an African language system. Some may even just say it's bad English. But what we're doing is taking our children where they are. We're not devaluing them, using the standard English proficiency teaching strategy to bridge them to where we want them to be, and that is masters of the language of commerce in this country, which is standard American English.
Dr. Mfume, did you and did all the other critics just misunderstand the Oakland School Board?
Well, I think those of us who found the news of their decision to be critical were basically going by what we have read and what we have seen up until this point. I must say that I am heartened to know that the school system in Oakland does not plan to teach Ebonics to young people, because then I think it would be a cruel joke. I believe that we have to, in this country, make it a point to see that our students, our young people, achieve proficiency in reading and writing and sciences and communicating. And we don't raise standards by lowering goals. We've got to be very clear about what we're saying. There is, within the larger African American community and in other communities, various dialects. They are not languages, they are dialects. And they have always been there and probably will always be there. We have to find ways to bridge out of that into proper English, proper communicative skills, but we should not be prepared to call it a second language or even a primary language. I think it is essentially a dialect.
Dr. Kelly, I understand that you compare the problems that kids have in school with Black English to what you encountered growing up in Brooklyn. Explain.
Well, yes, I think there's a lot of similarity. When I was a youngster growing up in Brooklyn, most of us spoke in ways that wouldn't be considered standard English. We said D's and does, and if we wanted to talk about something we'd done the day before, we might say, we was at the ball game, or we was at the beach, or we was at our grandmother, and that was the way we spoke. The teachers clearly identified that as wrong and bad. I totally agree with Mr. Mfume and with Commissioner Cook from Oakland that our goal is clearly to teach standard English. But our goal, and I think the value of understanding Ebonics, is to understand that the concept that African American dialect or speech patterns that are culturally based have roots in African languages, have speech patterns and grammar and pronunciation patterns that go back to roots in Africa. It's a very, very valuable thing for our teachers in the ability of giving respect.
First question, how did you come up with the idea of this special classes or special consideration of Ebonics?
Well, I don't know whether you know it or not, but in the Oakland, California school system, we have a program called the Standard English Proficiency Program. We are the one district that's had it since 1981, and it's in some of our schools, but the objective of the program is to work with young people who bring a different language pattern to our schools, to work with them to bridge the gap so they may speak standard competitive English. What we have done is to broaden it, primarily because 53% of our youngsters are African Americans. Many of them bring this language pattern, to which in this country today they've labeled it as Ebonics. Some 15 or 20 years ago it was the Black English debate. Some 20 years ago then it was African language patterns. So that we've not tied ourselves to what it is called. We acknowledge there's been several names given to the language pattern with a goal to make sure that all of our youngsters speak, read, and write standard competitive English.